The agenda is adopted.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Russell.
I'm sorry, are we ready now?
Yeah.
Did you go? Okay. All right, so can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Beverly,
Present.
Commissioner Green, Commissioner Halsey, Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Jeffers, Commissioner Parton,
Present.
Commissioner Russell,
Here.
Commissioner Spangler,
Here.
Commissioner Wilbur,
Here.
Commissioner Wright,
Here.
Vice Chair Carter,
Here.
Chair Faulkner.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Very good. And our disclaimer?
All those commissioners have previously agreed to recuse themselves from any vote that would constitute a conflict of interest. The most obvious of these are issues that involve their own departments or some that they know personally. Because they've already agreed to do this, it should be noted that on routine matters, it would be assumed non-verbally that these commissioners have abstained from that vote. In bigger, more controversial issues that may have a more overt conflict of interest, that may have an appearance of impropriety, those applicable commissioners will still verbally abstain from those votes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Do we have approval of the minutes for the February 16, 2024 commission meeting?
Russell, motion to approve.
Beverly, second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Report of decertification.
And thank you very much, Chair. Yesterday, we had three officers that were up for decertification hearings in the informal subcommittee of the Athens Police Department. Billy Kyle Harrison, Shelby County Sheriff's Office, Monica Gale Johnson, and Sullivan County Sheriff's Office, Heath Taylor McClellan. All were terminated for violating policies and procedures. All three failed to show for the meeting, and they were all, there was a motion and a second for default decertification for violation of, or for a termination for violation of policy and procedures, and it passed.
Do we have a motion to approve it as approved?
Sorry about it. There was an issue, I believe, with the one of the informal members, Johnson, in terms of service. So I'd recommend that one just be rolled to a later meeting, to a later informal.
Do we need a motion on that?
Make a motion to rescind the one case we're dealing with Johnson and roll it to next month's agenda of the informal committee.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we need a motion on the other two.
Not a motion on the other two, please.
Okay.
Spangler, motion to approve. Russell, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have the waivers for pre-employment.
Waivers for pre-employment. The Halls Police Department requests a criminal waiver for Joshua Adams Spain, hired November 19, 2023. In November of 2013, Mr. Spain was charged with DUI first offense in Dyer County, Tennessee. In 2014, he was found guilty of the charge. Mr. Spain has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing fines and fees.
Are you representing Halls Police Department?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Chief Tate of Falls Police Department. This is GDI Training Officer Dustin Garrett and Mr. Spain. During our pre-employment background check and as well speaking with Mr. Spain during the interview, he did disclose to us that he did have a DUI. It was approximately 10 years ago. He was at a bar nightclub, had too many drinks and made the decision to drive and pay the price for that. He since then has no problem with drinking, and I know him. This is not an issue. He has been hired technically since November, but that's because we have been wanting to get anybody that we can to hire, and it's hard to pick people up right now. But he's been on a civilian status. He has not worked a day as a police officer. Giving you all with grant us this waiver.
All right, thank you, Chief. Mr. Spain, is there anything about this you'd like us to know before we take a vote?
No, ma'am. One thing to me.
Were you involved in a vehicle crash or anything when you were charged with driving under the influence?
No, ma'am.
Other questions? Do we have a motion then?
Commissioner Ryan,
question will be. Mr. Payne, can you just go around the events of that? Exactly what happened on that?
Yes, I came home from college that weekend. Met some friends at a local sports bar. We had a few drinks and walked out, seeing state troopers were already in the parking lot. Made a split decision and got in my car, tried to drive away, which is a horrible decision. Yeah.
I will add, he is a member of the National Guard. He's active status now. He is a truck driver and heavy machine operator.
Commissioner Beverly, how old were you when this happened?
23.
No issues since?
Further questions?
Commissioner Wright, I'll make a motion to approve.
Beverly, second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office requesting a criminal waiver for Brandon Dale Jones, hired February 5th, 2024. In May of 2007, Mr. Jones was charged and convicted of driving under the influence, first offense in Washington County, Tennessee. Mr. Jones has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing, fines, and fees.
Please identify yourself.
I'm Sheriff Jeff Cassidy with Sullivan County Sheriff's Office, and I'm here to for a criminal waiver for Mr. Jones. He's satisfied all the sentencing, fines and costs hearing that for his DUI that happened 17 years ago.
Is that Mr. Jones with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to tell us about this incident?
This incident, like you said, occurred over 17 years ago. I was young at the time, bullheaded, and I thought I was invincible. And I was 24 at the time, wasn't thinking right, hanging out with the wrong crowd, made a bad decision. And that's my fault.
What's your driving record since then?
Satisfactory.
No further DUIs or reckless driving?
No, ma'am.
Other questions from the commission?
Commissioner Wright. Mr. Jones, I see on the criminal history where it's got the DUI and a previous driving on suspended, but I do not see, and I did see it in the department's internal investigation where you had a misdemeanor for terroristic threats in Kentucky. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, I was 18 at the time, and I went to a guy's house, wanted to fight him. They called law on me, and they charged me for. They asked me if I was threatening a guy, and I told them no, I'm not threatening him. I was like, I just want to fight the guy. He didn't come out, so they ended up charging me for terrorist threat.
Which I believe was expunged from his record, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, it was expunged.
It was expunged. Thank you.
Commissioner Barton, I was looking, Commissioner Wright, you said that was still on the NCIC printout?
I did not see it on the NCIC printout. It was the DUI and driving on suspended.
Okay.
But it's inside the Sullivan County Internal Affairs investigator.
Okay, all right, I was gonna say, if it had been expunged, you need to give her your clerk's office or the office in Kentucky and get that out, but that's all the clarity I need. Thank you.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
Commissioner Wright, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Barton.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Be careful.
Thank you for your time, Commissioner. Good luck.
Next up, Tennessee Highway Patrol requested military discharge waiver for Michael David Grijalva, hired February 25th, 2024. In January of 2009, he was discharged from the United States Marine Corps with an uncharacterized discharge for entry-level performance and conduct.
Yes, please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Michael David Grijalva II.
And who's with THP?
Captain Shane Stafford, Director of Training.
Thank you, Captain. All right, so can you tell us what we need to know about this?
Yes, ma'am.
when I signed up for the Marine Corps, it was going on roughly 15 years ago. Right before I was set to go to boot camp, I found out my wife was pregnant with our first child. To get me out that year, before the following year, I was offered a bonus, but I would have to go in on a weight waiver. I was completely out of shape. Honestly, I was out of shape. My physical well-being was kind of messing with my mental well-being at that point, along with the idea of my wife being pregnant with our first child. I was worried about her health, and along with all those other things. One day, I don't exactly remember how many days into training we were. Time was kind of lost at that point. They were telling me to quit. They offered me to quit, to go home. And I did. I accepted it in that moment. I was in pain. I was hurt. Honestly, I can't think of another. That's the only regret I've ever had in my life to this day. It wasn't until recently I decided to actually apply for this position, knowing that I had this on my record, hoping that I could get through it one way or another, and doing whatever it took to get through it.
Is there anything else from this background, Captain, that we should be advised of?
No, ma'am, that was the only thing that was noted in his background.
If I understand it, this is defined as a separation prior to 180 days of military service. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that he was 29 days into the program.
Any questions from the commission? Do we have a motion?
Russell, motion to approve.
Commissioner Wright, second.
I have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Captain, do you have the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let the secretary read it.
They do. It's Tennessee Highway Patrol requesting a criminal waiver for Matthew Charles Gentry, hired February 25th, 2024. In June of 2007, Mr. Gentry was convicted of disturbing the peace in San Bernardino, California. Mr. Gentry has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing fines and fees.
Is this, identify yourself, please.
Ma'am, Matthew Charles Gentry, ma'am.
Tell us what we should know about this.
Yes, ma'am. On June 30th, 2007, it was a Saturday evening. About 6 or 7 friends and myself went to a country concert. I consumed too much alcohol and became intoxicated, and I got into a physical altercation.
This was in California,
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. San Bernardino County, ma'am.
and you were charged with disturbing the peace.
Ma'am, my original arrest was a battery, and it was reduced down to disturbing the peace, ma'am.
You didn't fight the police or anything, did you?
Ma'am, no, ma'am.
Further questions? Do we have a motion?
Spangler, motion to approve. Harden, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Good
ma'am.
luck to you.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Moving on to waivers to attend another academy. We have the Lebanon Police Department requesting a waiver to change academies for Cody Robert Hodling, hired February 15th, 2024 and December of 2023, and he attended the Tennessee Highway Patrol Lateral Training Academy but did not complete due to voluntarily withdrawing. He is scheduled to attend transition school at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in April of 24.
Is the Lebanon Police Department represented online or in person?
Ma'am, online, ma'am.
Okay, please identify yourself.
Ma'am, I'm Officer Cody Hoteling.
All right, is there anyone from the Lebanon PD also online?
Yes, Captain Chris Melvin.
Thank you. So tell us about this. Any further information you want to elaborate on?
Ma'am, I'm post-certified from the state of Colorado. My wife and I, my 2 children, moved down here at the beginning of this September of 2023. I started THP Lateral Academy on December 1st of 2023. While there, I just realized that wasn't the type of policing that I wanted to do. I wanted to continue in the local jurisdiction policing that I was doing in Colorado with the calls for service and being able to help the citizens of the city.
Commissioners, you have any questions?
Russell motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rice said.
All right, we have a motion to approve this waiver. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Tracy City Police Department requests a waiver to change academies for John David Dove, hired January 26, 2024, and February of 2023. Mr. Dove attended the Tennessee Highway Patrol Training Academy but did not complete due to a family medical obligation. Tracy City Police is requesting the waiver so that he may attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy.
Who's here today representing the department?
Sergeant James Whitman, ma'am. Chief Walter sends his apologies. He couldn't be here today. Had our family member to attend to.
I'm sorry. So you're already in uniform. What role are you serving with Tracy City right now?
He is just riding with a certified officer, ma'am. He is as a police officer right now, ma'am. But he's been with a certified officer. He's hired on full time.
Are you armed?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not pretty simple.
No, I was just trying to figure out what he's doing before he had his waiver. All right, anything else we need to know about the situation?
In February of 2023, I started the academy. My son was sick when I left. On my second day, I got a call that he was in the hospital and he ended up having surgery, and I left the academy to be with him.
Anyone have any questions?
Beverly, motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the waivers of in-service. The request for a waiver has been received for the following officers so that they, as well as their departments, will remain in compliance with post guidelines. Begin with the Brentwood Police Department requesting a waiver of in-service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to a misunderstanding of post rules. Michael Andrew Connors, Daniel John Odenhall, and Colin Rotundo Salem.
You're representing the department. Please identify yourself.
Captain Zach Hardman with the Brentwood Police Department. I am the training captain as well as the GDI. Did not ask the officers that are in question to attend. That was my mistake, not theirs, so they won't be attending.
Anyone have any questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Russell second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you.
The Bristol Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for Tiana Maria Macis, hired November 27, 2023. She did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the date of hire. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Anyone online from the Bristol Police Department?
Yes, Major Walter Brown with the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department.
Okay, is there anything else the commissioner should know about this waiver?
Officer Macias left the department on March 26th of this year. She moved to Kansas and took a job with the Shawnee Police Department. Her husband was a U.S. Marshal and was supposed to be stationed there, ended up not going to Kansas. She came back to Bristol Police Department on November 27th. She completed 35 hours she completed 40 hours of in-service in Kansas. She completed 35 hours upon her return to Bristol. She got all the mandatory training in, but she missed 5 hours of general in-service before the end of the year.
Russell motion to approve.
Commissioner Wright second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Carter County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver of in-service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the date of hire and a misunderstanding of post rules. Salvatore Joseph Gakemo, Paula Ann Duffy, and Preston Todd White. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Do we have a representative from Carter County Sheriff's Office? Is there anyone online from Carter County?
I'll make Commissioner Parker, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second on the motion.
Russell second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Coffee County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver of event service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to time of hire: Herbert Ray Stewart Jr., David Michael Stribing. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Sheriff Department Representative, Coffee County Sheriff's Department, Madam Chair, I'd like to present the case from the desk. With your permission.
Okay.
Mr. Stewart and Mr. Strebe are recent hires at the end of last year. Since this has been entered, they both have completed their in-service or in the process of completing their in-service in this last few weeks, and they have attended, both have attended the recent transition school. We would ask kindly for a waiver.
Commissioner Wright, motion to approve.
Russell second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Cobb County will be, the Sheriff Department will be abstaining.
Let's vote on the motion. Did everybody say aye?
Yes.
Okay, no no's. All right.
Friendship Police, Friendship Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for Bill Joe Garrett, hired May 14th, 1994. The agency is requesting approval of community outreach hours that were completed but not properly submitted for approval for the 2023 calendar year. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Anyone representing the Friendship Police Department?
I'm here on Zoom.
Please identify yourself, sir.
I'm Chief Bill Garrett, Friendship Police Department.
All right. Everything's squared away on this, on your personnel? On their inside?
Yes, I'm the only employee here. Evidently, I didn't do my community outreach paperwork correctly.
With a name like Friendship, I would think you do a lot of community policing.
You're correct, I do.
Commissioner Parker makes a motion to approve.
Russell second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. It passes, Chief. Good luck
Thank
to
you very much.
Go out and spread friendship.
Thank you.
The Gadsden Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for Roderick Dwayne Moore, hired October 16th, 2023. Mr. Moore did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the time of hire. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Anyone from the Gadsden Police Department?
Yes, my name is Clinton Warrington, the Chief of Administration for Gadsden Police.
All right. Anything else, any further information on your employee, Roderick Moore?
Yes, ma'am. We had a slight conversation with him while he was doing transition, coming from a different post. He did complete his transitional post training at Toledo in January. He had a confusion of doing the 2023 assigned hours. He did complete over 30 of them, 27 plus the 4 hours of community service, but didn't realize he had to complete everything that was scheduled to him because he was going through the transitional school. So we're requesting a waiver, please.
Motion to approve.
Russell second.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The Jackson Police Department is requesting a waiver of in-service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the officers being placed on administrative leave. Ricky Lee Allen Jr., Philip Lee Kemper. The waiver will allow both the agents and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Is there a representative from the Jackson Police Department?
Yes, ma'am. Captain Terry Halford, Jackson Police Department.
All right. Is there anything further we should know about this?
Yes, ma'am. Officer Ricky Allen was terminated for criminal case on February the 8th of 24. He's no longer employed with us. And then Major Kemper still has ongoing litigation against the city.
So this is still ongoing. I see it's the second year request.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions from the commission?
So Commissioner Russell, can I make the motion to keep the department in compliance and not allow the employees to receive the check?
Yes, everybody understand that? Okay.
That's your motion.
Yeah.
Second, Beverly.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Everybody understand the motion? Okay. Signify by saying aye if you approve. Anyone against? All right. Thank you, Jackson PD.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, they're requesting a waiver of in-service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the date of hire and a misunderstanding of post rules. Jeremy Austin Lamond, Christopher Roman Torres, Adam Kyle Watson, Kayla Louise Yuri. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Is there a representative from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, please?
Sergeant Chris Barnes, General Departmental Instructor.
All right. Is there anything else the commission needs to know about this so we can vote?
Yes, Jeremy Austin Lamond was originally hired January 5 to a part-time capacity, was unable to fulfill those. He requested to return at a later date full-time, which he did in November. Our error, he was, his personnel status change was in error, done as an interdepartmental transfer instead of a separation and a rehire. He has since completed his field training. Also has we have established V Academy accounts for all these officers. Christopher Roman Torres completed transition school in 23. Through my misinterpretation of the post rules, I thought we had a calendar year until July of 24 to complete his in-service. He was hired after we completed our in-service training. And that's the same for Adam Watson and Kayla Yuri Daniels as well. We've since met with the sheriff, both chiefs, and we are changing general orders regardless of prior certification status. We've put a time limit to complete in-service at 30 days for incoming personnel, whether it's through our departmental in-service, online training, or a combination of both.
All right, questions from the commissioners?
Commissioner Wright, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Russell, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jefferson County.
Thank you.
The Laverne Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for the following officers who did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to an untimely passing and the date of hire. Brandon Keith Joyner and Christopher Andrew Mose. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Anyone from the Laverne Police Department?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Sergeant John Eubank with the Laverne Police Department. I'm the General Department Instructor.
Any other information you want to share with the commissioners before we make a vote?
Sure. Officer Brandon Joyner died in a single vehicle motor vehicle accident in December. I think it was December 11th of 2023. He was in compliance with all training and up to date with all his mandatories and his 40 hours and his range time. So we're just requesting that waiver on behalf of the post-check rules for an officer who had passed away. And secondly, Chief Christopher Mays, he was hired in the fourth quarter of 2023. He completed Transition Academy in December of 2023. And I believed at the time that the Transition Academy would suffice for his in-service training. And we had a misinterpretation of the rules on that. And we're just requesting that he gets that waiver signed so we can maintain compliance and move into 2024 training.
Commissioner Martin makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Wright, second.
We have a motion and a second on the waiver or in service. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. It passes. Thank you. Sorry to hear about the loss there.
Thank you very much.
The McMinn County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver of in-service for Tyler James Arendt, hired August 17, 2023. He did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year. Due to the time of hire, the waiver will allow both the agents and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Is there a representative from the McMinn County Sheriff's Office?
Commissioner Morton makes motion to approve.
Beverly second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The Newmarket Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for Dylan Kane Atkins, hired September 8, 2023. He did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to the time of hire. The waiver will allow both the agents and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Commissioner Morton make a motion to approve.
Russell second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Was there a representative from Newmarket Police Department online?
The Overton County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver of in-service for Cameron Edward Johnston, hired July 27, 2023. Mr. Johnson did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year due to an administrative oversight. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Good morning, you from Overton County.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Lieutenant Tharp of the GDO with Sheriff's Office.
All right, Lieutenant, is there anything else you want to share with the Commissioner's Office?
Mr. Johnston came to us in August of 2023. We managed to get all of his in-service in except for 1 hour. It was an oversight on my part. I did not assign him child sex abuse through V Academy. And that was the only hour he missed having his in-service in.
He's still employed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Spangle approve.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Morton second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
The Pickett County Sheriff's Office requesting waiver of in-service for the community involvement hours that were not properly submitted for approval. The following officers completed the required training for the 2023 calendar year: Christopher Darrell Beatty, Albert Gordon Connor, William Dwight Cora, Dana Edward Dowdy, James Clyde Hammock, Lance Richard Miller, Keith Leo Smith, Levi David Tumman, and Steve Charles Wilbur. The waiver will allow both the agency and the officers to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Is there a representative from Pickett County Sheriff's Office? Pickett County? Right,
Russell motion to approve.
do you have a second?
Spangler.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Red Bull and Springs Police Department requests a waiver of in-service for Derek Ryan Gann, hired December 4th, 2023. Mr. Gann did not complete the required training for the 2023 calendar year. Due to the date of hire, the waiver will allow both the agency and the officer to remain in compliance with post guidelines.
Commissioner Morton motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Commissioner Wright second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is anyone online from the Red Bull and Springs Police Department?
Next up is the South Carthage Police Department requesting a waiver of in-service for community involvement hours that were not properly submitted for approval. The following officers completed the required training for the 2023 calendar year: John Compton, Shane Gregory, Bobby Long, Carrie Pitt.
Yes, sir. You here for South Carthage Police Department?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Chief David Long, South Carthage Police Department.
Good to see you, Chief. Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this?
The girl that entered it had sent the request back in January. I've got them here with me a couple of times, asking what to do with this roster, because last year we just mailed it all in, done the same way, had no problem. But she couldn't find nowhere to put it. So she does other business for the city. She put it aside and had just forgot it. I didn't know nothing about it until they contacted me in February. And I asked her where it was at, and of course we were trying to get her over then, and I apologize for the delay. It's just miscommunication between us.
Russell motion to approve.
Wait a second.
Commissioner Wright second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Chief, motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to waivers of the 6-month rule, the following departments are requesting waiver of the 6-month rule to keep their officers in the department in compliance: Begin with Nashville State Community College Police Department. Requests a 6-month waiver for Melvin Dizelle Alexander, hired August 16th of 2023. Mr. Alexander has not begun training due to the agency learning post rules. Mr. Alexander is scheduled to attend transition at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in the next class.
Yes, sir. You representing Nashville State.
Good morning. Yes, ma'am. Chief Thomas Phelps.
All right, Chief, is there anything else you want to advise us of on this?
I apologize, ma'am.
Anything else that we should know about this?
Oh, no, ma'am. Oversight of my incident. The request was given to email. In fact, I'm sorry, email the information in December. The individual misunderstood when I followed up in December to see if my officer would be available for the class. We learned that we were not in compliance and subsequently sent it in, ma'am.
Okay, so you've made the appropriate changes and
Yes.
do we have a motion?
Beverly, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Russell, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, panel.
Moving on, Chair, to the consent agenda.
Commissioner Porter make the motion to approve all items contained within the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Spangler, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, motion to approve carries.
Under old business, as we move on, we have an update from the Gibson Police Department. Jerry Dalton Morris was appointed interim chief on February 1st, 2023. However, the required pre-employment paperwork had not been received by post. At the February 16th, 2024 meeting, Mr. Morris' paperwork was received and processed on February 26th, 2024. No further action is required. Moving on to new business and items for discussion, we will turn it over to our legal counsel to discuss an agreed order of suspension for Broderick Hunter Bolden. He was employed by the Dyersburg Police Department from October 14, 2019 until his termination October 31st, 2022 for violations of department policies. Mr. Bolden has agreed to a suspension of his post certification.
Good morning. Mr. Bolton was terminated from his police department for a domestic violence call that he went on where he did not properly check to see whether there was an order of protection in place, along with other internal policy issues relating to that domestic violence call. He has offered to the post commission to a 1-year suspension. That would put him out past the 3-year mark and would require him to attend transition school and be hired by an agency in order to seek coming out of suspension on that certification.
Do we have a motion? Yes.
Commissioner Russell, would he still have to get a waiver for the transition school?
Over 3 years, yes.
It's Russell, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'm gonna have a point to add before we vote. Just to clarify, what are the effective dates of his 1-year suspension?
Upon passage of the post commission, it would go into effect today, and that would last through March 15th of 2025. At that point, if he were to seek employment at any department, they would have to come on a waiver before he could attend transition school.
Maybe I'm missing. He was employed until 2022, so that puts him in October. Would that put him under the 3-year threshold?
Maybe I was just thinking of the math.
On 23, maybe I'm wrong.
And I think you're right. I think we might have just gotten the math wrong. If we'd be willing to just pass this to next month's agenda, we can discuss doing an 18-month suspension to get us out to that October.
And also, Chair, in cases like this, what if he was to leave our state and be hired at an out-of-state agency? How would that affect that? Because, you know, the records and knowing that we've had an issue in Tennessee.
So the suspension would be entered into the NDI, which if he's going to another state and they're checking that, that would be flagged. And for a correction, What we have in the agenda for the date of termination is not correct. He was terminated, November 2nd of 2021.
So that would put us past the.
Yes,
3
correct.
years on this reorder.
I just want to get some clarity and also have it on the record in case that something like that does happen.
I can appreciate the 3-year rule, so.
Yeah, all right, so is everybody clear? I've been taking notes on this, but do we still need to postpone it to the next agenda, or are we covered with this date correction?
As long as that's the date we have in the CADIS, all we would have to do is just change the date on the reorder, and the chair can still sign it today. If that's what the condition voted to do.
I'm good with that too.
All right, so the motion stands in a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, passes.
All right, moving on to annual academy reports. You'll see in your folder there that you have a 2023 annual academy report from the Memphis Police Department Training Academy.
All right, do we have a motion to approve or disapprove? On the Memphis Police Department Training Academy Annual Report.
Won't see it. We have a question. This whoever did the inspection.
Kevin Creek, Coast Investigator. I've not gone to Shelby County yet. I spoke to,
I'm talking about Memphis. Did you do the Memphis Police Department?
inspection. I did it in 2023, not 2024 yet.
Okay.
This is just an annual report.
This is, Commissioner, this is just the annual report that's submitted by the academy. And if we could get one of our team members to put that report up in the new business, because it's not showing up on my iPad.
Does that report reflect what's in their training curriculum? Their personal curriculum?
Yes, the report is just how many classes they held, how many people graduated, things of that nature that they're supposed to report per the post rules on an annual basis.
And Commissioner Russell, was there any problem with the report that Post knows of?
No, sir. Their academy lesson plan was approved for 2023. They held all the classes they were supposed to hold. And the report just sends us how many in-service trainings they held, how many people went through their in-service training, any waivers requested, how many basic classes they had, how many folks graduated from that basic class, things of that nature.
I would ask, do we have a detailed syllabus of what they train down there in basic traffic law?
We could dig the information up for you. I think that and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Assistant Director Bello, but the academy lesson plans are so large that we would have to dig that up for you aside after the meeting, but we can get that information for you.
I would like to see what was in that 23 lesson plan.
Do we need to continue this to the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to roll it to next month.
Russell, second.
Okay, question.
Good.
All right, all in favor of the motion of continuing it to April, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Does just for clarification for our team, would the commission want somebody from the Memphis Police Academy to appear at the meeting to discuss the report, or just to have a chance to review the curriculum and then the report?
But Mr. Director, I think that would be good if they could appear, and I know I have a few questions that I would like to get clarified, some details and for those trainees, future and the department.
Commissioner Russell saying I'd like to have somebody from Memphis also here.
We will let them know and put them on the agenda for April. Thank you. Moving on to the next part of the new business for discussion. We have late submission of in-service training. Post-commission has determined action for late submission of 2023 in-service training for the following agencies: Bledsoe County Sheriff's Office, Eagleville Police Department, Gainesboro Police Department, Haywood County Sheriff's Office, New Hope Police Department, Petersburg Police Department, St. Joseph's Police Department, and Soddy Daisy Police Department.
Are any of these departments represented today?
Assistant Chief
New
Mike
Hope is here.
I'm sorry, which department?
Gainesboro.
Gainesboro. Have you submitted your in-service for 2023 yet?
Yes, I have. It hasn't reached, come out in Cadus, so I can, my training hours is not in the Cadus yet. Turned on my B Academy and it hasn't showed up.
And I can clarify a little better for the commission. What has happened is with our online salary supplement process, greatly speeding up the processing of that paperwork. In the past, agencies have been able to submit training for the previous year, and we've just accepted it because we were in the middle of processing all that paperwork, so we just kind of rolled with it. But as we've increased the speed of that paperwork, we're now finishing salary supplement just about here this month. So allowing agencies to submit training from last year, this year, slows down the salary supplement process. So we had instituted a deadline when your salary supplement paperwork was due to be turned in, all your in-service, all lesson plans for the previous year needed to be turned in. And so these are completed training submissions that were turned in after that deadline. And so because we didn't want to just process salary supplements and pay folks for training that was not submitted properly for last year, we wanted to bring that before the commission and make sure we got their approval to process 2023 paperwork in 2024, if that makes any sense.
So are they in good shape? Are they good to go?
They're just waiting for that for us to finish processing the paperwork so that we can get their salary supplement stuff finished for 2023, if the commission approves.
Is this on all listed? These are just on.
That for all the departments that are listed in that section, they're all in the same boat.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve based off of Director Bellows' comments.
Russell, second.
I'm sorry, who?
Russell.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So I recognize the other department that's here.
Eagleville City Police Chief.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else on this list that's represented? I'm sorry?
I said, thank y'all.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. All right.
Soddy Daisy Police is here also.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who, please?
Soddy Daisy Police Department.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And your name?
Captain Eric Jenkins. I'm
Okay.
the GDI also.
Thank you, Captain. Anyone else before we move on?
New Hope Police Department.
New Hope. All right. And you are, sir? Can you identify yourself?
Ma'am. John Griffith, Chief of Police.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Anyone
Thank
else?
you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chief Deputy Terry Smith, Haywood County Sheriff's Office.
All right. Anyone else?
Ma'am, this is,
Go
ma'am,
ahead,
this
go
is
ahead.
this is Chief Rush with the Newmarket Police Department, Newmarket, Tennessee. I was present for the waiver session there, and I apologize for not operating the keyboard correctly. I do appreciate the approval on Dylan Kane Atkins.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're good. And just to also just add a little bit additional to that, we really deal with a couple of different kinds of late paperwork. We deal with the late submission of the lesson plans at times, which can kind of throw a wrench in the spokes there. And we also deal with late submission of the training that was completed itself. And so that's one of the areas that I think we're going to be able to focus on this year, especially and moving forward because of the work that's been done to digitize the salary supplement. As far as late submission of pre-employment paperwork, the Post Commission needs to determine action for late submission of pre-employment paperwork for the Eagleville Police Department. Robert Paul Black, hired May 30th, 2023. His pre-employment paperwork was received by post on December 28th of 2023.
All right, and Chief is here from Eagleville Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So what's the situation with getting it in, what, 7 months almost?
Yes, ma'am. I take full responsibility of it. We're a small agency. At the time, I was in the process of losing 2 officers to larger agencies. I hired Officer Black, already post-certified, went through training with Metro. I did submit all of the paperwork in December, along with an explanation letter about what the reasons for those delays were.
Further questions from the commissioners? Do we have a motion?
Russell,
Do
motion
we need
to
a,
approve.
yeah, we need a motion. I'm sorry,
Russell, motion to approve.
do we have a second?
Commissioner Wright, so.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you. We approved it.
Thanks, guys.
And on the agenda where it says no further action required, that's for the individual officers packet. So Greenbrier Police Department, we're still talking about late submission of pre-employment paperwork. Joseph Peter Cellini, Shane Michael Meadows, and Adam Odell Tate.
And this is from the Greenbrier Police Department. Who are you, sir?
Chief Buster Locklear, Greenbrier Police Department.
All right, chief. So it looks like they all got turned in February of this year. What was going on?
There was some issues with training. There was some reassignment of duties. Our chief was going through some medical issues, which ultimately his retirement. There was a big mix-up or shake-up with everybody's position being reassigned. I was assigned to handle the ACADIS paperwork, the submissions to post and all that. I had no experience with it, not familiar with it at all. I kind of got a crash course, didn't even have a login to actually log into the system. Once we realized that the paperwork was not submitted correctly, we weren't notified immediately. There was some time that passed, and I was then appointed to chief, and then I put everybody back in their original positions. So our GDI went back to Deputy Chief Butler, and he's most familiar with all of it. He was able to get everything wrapped up and get everything submitted.
So corrections are made in order to be up to date this year,
Yes,
2024.
Yes, ma'am.
Comments or questions?
Russell, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Wright, so.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chief, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Next up is the Nashville State Community College Police Department. Melvin Dizelle Alexander, hired August 16, 2023. Pre-appointment paperwork was received by post March 6th of 2024. No further actions required on part of the department.
Do we have a motion?
Commissioner Wright, motion to approve.
Russell, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion to approve carries.
All right, next up on the agenda is a discussion for the post-commission informal and rulemaking committees. The commission needs to decide members as we have a new commission here, new commission leadership, who is going to be on these different committees.
Commissioner Wright, I guess I can start up. I can stay on the informal committee if the rest of the commissions this art with everybody else. I already have to come up the day before anyway, generally big long travel. So being here on Thursdays, not really an issue for me. They come anyway on Thursday for a Friday meeting.
Any other volunteers on either the informal hearings or the rulemaking? It's two different ones, right?
Commissioner Wilbur, I'm happy to stay on the informal committee. I'm in town.
Anyone else?
Commissioner Beverly, I'll serve on the informal if you're seeking volunteers.
And I see Green online. Do you have a committee you're interested in? Commissioner Green?
I would be willing to serve on the informal committee, but it's going to be a couple of more months before I'm available to attend. So maybe as an alternate.
We didn't want to leave you out.
Well, and I appreciate that.
Anybody on rulemaking? I'm glad to serve on that.
I think we're all volunteer to do that as well.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Russell, if I'm out of session, I could be there.
For rulemaking?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as long as it's after April.
Commissioner Carr, I can do that as well.
Rulemaking?
Madam Chair, how many do you need on that? At least 3?
We have 4 on each so far.
Would you, for at least for right now, just put me as an alternate, just in case with my treatments going on, that just in case I can't make it or something.
On the rulemaking?
Yes, please.
Okay. And there's some that aren't here today that might have an interest also. Anyone else? I don't leave anybody out. I guess we have committees.
We do have committees. Thank you very much, Chair. Moving on, are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Post investigative report. We have a update from a post investigator to provide the commission an audit report for the Polk County Sheriff's Office. And I know we're all familiar with Mr. Creed, but if you could just make sure you identify yourself for the record.
Kevin Creed, post investigator. January of this year, I went to Polk County to do an internal audit of their new hire records, paperwork, stuff like that. And I found a few inconsistencies I just wanted to bring to the commission's attention. There was 3 deputies that were listed for new hires that I asked for their firearms paperwork. And out of the 3 paperworks that were given to me, 2 of them did not have dates on it. And also they had signatures on the forms of a firearms instructor that's not listed on their in-service hours as their 8-hour in-service for the year. Looking back at the lessons plan, I believe Instructor Campbell is the one listed as the firearms instructor. They told me that instructor no longer works for the agency. And these are new hires from, I think, March, May, April, May of 2023. But the inconsistencies were there are no dates on the firearms instructor forms. What you should have in your packets, if you look at your packet, the firearms instructor forms will be there. There's no dates listed as a firearms instructor sheet. And it has the firearms instructor listed as another individual. When they submitted their in-service for this year, their in-service for the agency, they listed some of these officers as receiving 8 hours firearms instructor, 8 hours for their post-certification. And the instructor is listed as a different firearms instructor than their sheets. So my problem is the firearms instructor that qualified them is not the one that signed the range sheet for their 8 hours in service for firearms for their post 40 hours in service. So that's one of the issues. Looking at their timesheets for those 3 officers also, there was inconsistencies with their time on their timesheets. If it's an 8-hour firearms class, it should be an 8-hour firearms class. Their timesheets represent an hour and a half to 2 hours on the firearms range. And those all should be inside the packet with you. So just the inconsistencies with the person who signed the firearms roster, who didn't actually qualify those individuals, and also not having full 8 hours of range.
Commissioners, for disclosure, I'm getting, tech, Bowman County asking me to ask y'all to let them in.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted y'all to know that the transparency purposes.
This is Sheriff Ross. Are y'all waiting on me now?
Can he hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll get started in just a second. We're sure having some internet issues here, but thank you for standing by.
I apologize. I thought it was on my end.
No, it's, there you go. Now we're ready. Are we ready for, we're ready. Are we ready for public comment or are you done?
No, we're ready to continue with,
Oh, county, okay, I'm sorry.
No problem. So the date in question is, I believe the range date was August 15th of 2023, where 3 deputies went to the range and qualified with a Richard Taylor, who is there now. Was a reserve part-time deputy at the time. He qualified them on August 15th. The 2 sheets that I have from the deputies that are not signed, one of them is on a Walt Mitchell, and the other one's on a Marcus Cochran. Those are 2 of the 3 deputies that were there. The 3rd deputy was an Officer Payne, who was at that range date. So I did speak to Marcus Cochran, and he said the range was probably about 2 hours long. And I spoke to Walt Mitchell over the phone. The GDI, Crew Ross provided the phone call and put it on speakerphone, and he said it was about 2.5 hours of shooting on the range for that day. So their firearms was done on August 15th of 2023. We're ranged anywhere between 2 and 2.5 hours. Cochran stated he had no classroom time to fill the other 8 hours for the post mandate of 8 hours on the firearm range. And then my biggest issue is actually what they submitted for salary supplement was their firearms instructor sheets. And it has them qualifying with their scores. But the date the firearms instructor signed their sheet was either March 28th or April 8th of 2023. And the firearms instructor who signed their scores for post is no longer their firearms instructor and wasn't at their range on August 15th. So what they submitted to post is signed by a firearms instructor that's no longer with them and didn't qualify them for the full 8 hours. Also the inconsistencies with the 8-hour actual firearms in service. 2.5 hours is not sufficient for firearms of 8 hours mandated. And I have their timesheets to reflect that they were not on the range for 8 hours. Crew Ross, the GDI, stated that they do have classroom time also. I could not find out any timesheets that they did any classroom time. That's not reflected at all on any of the paperwork that they provided to us. Actually, on Walt Mitchell's timesheet on August 15th, he has 2 extra hours on his timesheet, and it says for court time. It doesn't even have range time on his sheet. On Deputy Cochran's timesheet, I have range time. And it's from 3:30 to 5:30 a.m. And he works a 12-hour shift, so he has a 14-hour shift that day. He stated he was only at the range for about 2.5 hours. When I explained to GDI Ross the problems with the 8-hour range time, he provided me an email with their firearms rules and what they do on an 8-hour firearms range date. They consider their drive time to the range part of their 8 hours. Overview of firearms, firearms safety, target setup, loading firearms, cleaning firearms, overview, classroom, vehicle drive time back to their residence after qualifying. But their timesheets do not reflect the 8 hours. So the major issues is the timesheets not reflecting 8 hours and the different firearms instructors signing their post-submitted documents to us for 8 hours. Mr. Campbell signed that with Crew Ross certifying that that was accurate. And meanwhile, it was Richard Taylor who qualified him and it wasn't even for 8 hours. So that's what I'm bringing to the commission today. One of those deputies is no longer with them, Mr. Cochran, so he would not be eligible for salary supplement anyway. But I believe the Walt gentleman is still eligible for salary supplement if the commission approves his 8 hours. But like I said, inconsistencies with the 8 hours falsifying the documents, if that is the case of the 8 hour firearms, that's the issue that I'm presenting to you today.
So is this primarily the 3 new hires? What about the rest of the agency?
The rest of the agency was qualified by Mr. Campbell, the original firearms instructor that they submitted their post certification, the 8 hour lesson plan for. He qualified the whole department back in March and April.
And they had the 8 hours?
Yes, ma'am. According to them, the GDI stated that the issue was these were new hires after Mr. Campbell no longer worked there. But they submitted the documents to post as Mr. Campbell was the one who qualified them for the full 8 hours for a post credit.
So the new hires, the 3 new hires, they're not eligible for salary supplement anyway, right?
Well, one of them would be, the Walt gentleman would be, but that's another issue I need to bring to the commission. Indicatus, his date of hire is a certain date, which would make him eligible for post salary supplement.
Was he a post certified officer to begin with?
No, but he would have the 8 months credit. He would have, yeah, I believe he was, he'd be eligible.
Just had a long break of service or something.
Yeah, he'd be eligible for salary supplement. But there was a problem with his data entry into ACADIS too. GDI Ross told me that he got hired at a certain date and that what we have in ACADIS is wrong. And he was saying the date was later on from what ACADIS reflects. And he stated that like 2 or 3 times that the date is wrong in ACADIS, the date is wrong in ACADIS. And he wanted to change that to a later update. I did request timesheets from their department and showed in timesheets that that officer was hired the date properly documented in ACADIS. So I don't know what the intention was to get a later date. Maybe to show that he didn't get his firearms in at that date period, but I can't see a reason why he would want the date changed back and forth. But I have all the timesheets from the packets that are on your iPads. Of the new hires and their dates that they started service and stuff like that, and also their timesheets from the range week that was documented on August 15th.
Commissioner Wright, I have a few questions to Investigator Craig. What the qualification sheets that were submitted for everybody else that looked like it was back in March that Instructor Campbell had done, were they were all filled out correctly, the dates were filled out correctly, everything appeared to be in order for those?
There was no issues with any other. I already looked at the new hires for the last year. There was no issues that I found in any pre-employment packets on anyone else online or anything like that.
It's for these 3, for one of them on Cochran, looks like for the date, they put the shooting score instead of the date. One of them, they put a question mark out beside the date, like they were trying to question what day they even should.
I
put the question mark.
I might have put that question mark, yes, sir. It was left blank when I went to the department. Those 2 officers were both left blank.
The other question I'd have is 2 of them, Payne and Mitchell, look like they had 2 signatures under firearm instructor.
Yeah, I asked about that also. So the one signature is Richard Taylor. The one they say is their new part-time reserve deputy that is a firearms instructor. The second deputy that signed it is Marcus Cochran, actually. The other officer who got hired with them and was qualifying with them. He was the co-signature on that. So one of the deputies who was actually there qualifying signed the firearms sheets for the other 2 officers also.
Okay, so you're saying the one that on the Cochran with the single signature, whose signature is supposed to be at the bottom of that?
Richard Taylor's signature's on that. There's only one signature on that one.
I just would not have got Richard Taylor out of that signature. That's something else.
Yeah, actually, I looked into that also, and I looked at his past signatures, and that's appropriate for his signature, because I was wondering if he was actually the one who signed the documents. GDI Prue Ross actually called the Richard Taylor gentleman, and I was able to speak to him on the phone too to validate that he was at that ranged firearms and stuff like that. He was very vague about dates and times and stuff like that, but he did verify that those deputies were there. Deputies were there at that time period, and they shot at a range at his house.
So has there been any corrective action taken since you completed? I mean, it's obvious they know you've been in DUG files and there's a problem, but Since that time, have you communicated with them, investigator, and is there anything that they've done to change this action before this presentation?
The only action, GDI Ross communicated back and forth about the Acatus entry, back and forth with that. We fixed the other deputy that he thought was incorrect in Acadia. There was another deputy that the status was wrong, and that had nothing to do about salary supplement, and that was corrected by us on our end. But with there was no new range information provided, with a different instructor signing the sheet or anything like that.
So I know there's multiple vote here, but first things first, how many people are you seeing that are in violation in your eyes that on salary supplement for the year?
For payment, 1, but loading into Acatus, which reflects their training hours, is wrong on 2 officers. But the biggest concern is the range sheet that was signed and authorized and certified that it's true and accurate by GDI Crew Ross, stating that's true and accurate. And also a firearms instructor signing a sheet that he didn't qualify those individuals on.
So have you confronted them about that, and what was their answer?
The salary supplement was submitted after my visit, so I did not confront them. The salary supplement's on hold until today. I processed it. It's just waiting for today's decision to see if it's gonna go through.
What do they need to do to resolve the issue, or what is your recommendation?
I'm bringing it to your attention. If it's a criminal matter about certifying the document through Acatus of training records, if that's the case, because that's reflecting supplement back, I don't know if the commission would consider it fraud if they're attempting to fraud the state of Tennessee. But also the George Campbell individual signing a firearms sheet with someone else's name. Did he just sign it?
Was he a firearms instructor too?
Yes, he was originally for the whole department. He was their firearms instructor until like May, or I don't have the exact date.
So was everybody involved with signatures? I'm following what you're saying, but everybody with signatures, are they firearms instructors or people that are generally involved either in classroom or on the range?
Mr. Campbell was a firearms instructor for the department. Richard Taylor has a firearms instructor certification, and I believe Marcus Cochran also did. So they were actually firearms instructors. They weren't listed in Acatus as like certified firearms instructors or something like that, but they had proper training.
Okay. Is it your feeling when you were there, is there anybody that may not be, do you think that needs to requalify or is not safe to carry a gun? I mean, did you get that indication? Because
the only indication I got was their date of hire to when they actually qualified with a gun was several months after their date of hire. Post does not control that. You can hire someone January 1st and they don't qualify till June to get their 8-hour post supplement. So that's just a training internal issue that they probably have there.
And something that
on the road
that you could recommend that in the future.
And Crew Ross is a new GDI, and I don't know what training he's had and stuff like that, but he was very forthcoming and provided me documentations with everything. He actually emailed me after I left and gave me that sheet of what they do with their 8 hours. But I just feel that 8 hours should be 8 hours, and when people put 2 hours on the timesheet, they might, even if they did have 3.5 hours of classroom time that I can't show anywhere in the records. They're just stating they had PowerPoint in classroom, but we don't know when. And Marcus Cochran stated he didn't even have any classroom time. It's just insufficient for post rules.
Mr. Director, you got any input here with this?
I would say that, and first to your point about the qualifications, I think from a training perspective, I think all the law enforcement professionals on the commission would probably agree it's standard best practice to qualify with your firearm at your department prior to carrying that firearm at your department, just to kind of put that to bed. But, I think it's a matter of best left to the commission. If the commission decides that this needs to go to some sort of informal hearing, I know that we do have the sheriff and the GDI are both on today. If the commission wants to go ahead and hear from them before it makes any decision, but really this is a matter that would best be left to the commission to decide how to move forward. But I mean, there are some significant issues here with the agency's firearms training.
Is it something that, and asking before we go further, but I mean, just looking through this, I mean, I know it's time and dates and the people and it looks like the correctness. I know on dealing with the supplement is always a big deal, but is this something that the staff can help the new GDI get corrected? I mean, is this things that we could say, all right, we've made a note of this and we're going to improve this movement? In other words, putting them on some kind of verbal probation or something and
Corrective action.
corrective action, so to speak, moving forward.
Well, and I thank you, Commissioner, for that question. We are always willing to help any agency that wants to help. And so if they reach out to us and they want us to help them put together their training plan, we're more than happy to do that. We're pretty, when it comes to firearms training hours, I think we're already pretty liberal on that as far as, range setup and breakdown is considered as part of that 8 hours. But something like drive time, for example, that can't possibly be counted for anything.
Well,
But I think we can help them.
I could see a new GDI with a senior post investigator standing before him trying to think outside the box.
With the times and dates.
So with the times and dates and what was going on, but I would highly suggest that the new GDI spend a little more time conversing with you and staff and spending time with other GDIs in the surrounding area and for department best practices on how to do these things. I mean, I know it can be stressful and I'm thinking Polk County is a distressed county anyway. I mean, it's expensive but that's the reason I asked the question. Do you personally think, in your observation of being in the department, that the deputy sheriffs in Polk County are properly carrying their weapons and that they are capable of handling those weapons from what your observation was?
Yes, but they're qualified to shoot and their scores were accurate. They were 96, 100%, stuff like
I
this.
just want to make sure there wasn't some.
And I believe this is already corrected with the new firearms instructor for 2024. I believe the issue with Polk County was Mr. Campbell retired. He no longer, he left. And I think they have a new person to supplement and take that role over. And Mr. Taylor was just like the fill-in gentleman that they used. But they still they still put the wrong names and the wrong stuff on it.
I would make a motion that we have a follow-up in 6 months and go back and look at their records or have a follow-up conversation visit and come back and see what kind of improvements in policy and training that they may have implemented since then.
And I think the biggest issue is that these were just new hires and they already did their in-service for the year for those officers. So they were scrambling to get these officers their 8 hours and stuff like that. And also they were using a range of someone's house.
Yeah.
When I talked to GDI Ross, they were trying to get a fixed range at a location away from there.
Those are hard to do. I can't hardly use the range.
I believe they were trying to get a range. And it's March, April. I think he said he was going to be doing his firearms training in March and April for 2024. So if it hasn't taken place yet, maybe we can audit that or go.
Well, or maybe do we need to say that one of y'all need to be present when they do it?
Yeah, audit it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Russell, since I've been here for the past 6 years, I've never seen Polk County before, so I'll second Sheriff Pardon's motion to put this off 6 months and revisit it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Commissioner,
Yes.
I will point out that we'll need a decision on whether or not to accept that firearms training from 2023, since it will affect the compliance and salary supplement for that one officer that's affected.
Commissioner Beverly, that was what I was bringing up. It seems like we're addressing best practices with a 6-month follow-up, but there's 2 issues here that we need to address, and it seems based on that one officer, he told you he only did 2 hours of firearms.
Yeah. But he said he did some classroom too, but he didn't tell me what time, stuff like that. But it wasn't 8 hours. And also the Acatus date he had would make him eligible for a salary supplement, but the date that GDI Ross wanted me to change him to would not make him eligible for salary supplement. And once again, I don't know what the agenda was behind that, why he was trying to change the date of the hire date. But if we went with the original hire date that I proved that he was working at that time, he would be eligible for salary supplement. It was just a one deputy.
But did he have the same 8-hour firearms training that the other guys had?
Yes, his time sheet says court 1 hour. 2 hours for that day.
So if
But he
they-
told me it was about 2 hours on the range.
So if they don't accept the firearms training, then he wouldn't be able.
That is correct. And all the other deputies would be eligible because Mr. Campbell did theirs.
Would it be possible for Commissioner Parton to put in his motion that the deputy can complete the remaining 6 hours of firearm training within the 30 days? And we accept that in addition to the 6 months review.
But I think the only issue with that, Commissioner Russell, is you're talking about something from 2023 and 2024. So trying to pay something that should have been paid in 2023 and saying that it's been completed in 2024, we opened that door for agencies to complete training in 2024 that should have been completed in 2023 and paying out a salary supplement that should have been paid.
And I will also go on by testimony of the investigator that the agency is trying to enter him into a case on a date that, you know, the salary supplement for that one is kind of a moot point. And I, in my motion, I'll add that the one officer is not eligible for the salary supplement, but does need to complete another 6 hours since we have no documentation of classroom training, whether it's within their agency or going to somewhere else, but needs to show proof to the post 6 more hours.
So if I'm understanding your motion correctly, no salary supplement, he needs to complete the 6 hours of training to meet his training requirement.
And then all of then the department and the officers are all still in compliance.
And we follow up in 6 months
With the GDI.
for best practices.
Yeah.
Can I just add one other thing? If they've located documentation of that classroom time that he did of dates and periods, and that's 3-4 hours, can we accept that? And then additionally, what's in 2024?
If there's a miracle that happens and you think that is.
I'm giving my benefit of the doubt.
I give the administration the yes, if that miracle happened.
I mean, this is amazing liability that you have 2 officers that have had 2 hours of training, and they must be super cops because they both scored really high.
196.
First it was like a 91 and then it suddenly became a 6. I mean, that's some crack shooting. For their first trip to the gun range.
I would, with all due respect, tell you what county they're in.
I know what county.
They're probably crack shots.
And one of them is a fire instructor.
The bottom line is the post rule is 8 hours and that's not a new rule. And, 8 hours is 8 hours and it's not drive time and it's not cleaning your gun time. It's classroom and shooting bullets at a target and scoring appropriately. I mean, like I said, it's a huge liability and I don't know why they don't, surely to God they get that. So, we have a motion and a second. Yes.
Commissioner Wright, I'd like to add just a little bit more to what you're going off of there on the liability, because I know that the sheriff and the GDI are on. It's not just for the post standards, it's be also for the liability of the department. If something was to happen to one of these officers and they go back and look at his firearms
training
and his date says 100, there is no date on this form to even be able to prove when he actually did this. And making sure that the consistency of these forms is correct. Like one of them's date is clearly wrote by somebody else by a different pen. I'm no handwriting analysis, but it needs to be a lot of consistency in these kind of forms for these departments, everybody's departments, because that kind of stuff can come back and bite you later down the road if you was unfortunately involved in.
We may also need to look in our rules, Mr. Director, that moving forward, we may want to look at some kind of universal statewide form for firearms. It seems like this may be an issue that's come up in the past, but we may need a universal testing submittal form. It may need to be electronic or something.
Well,
for discussion in the future.
And to the forms question, as somebody who has, had their signature cut off another form and taped onto another firearms qualification sheet, obviously without my knowledge and all that was handled by this commission in a different matter, this paperwork is serious and departments need to know this paperwork is serious. And when you sign your name on this paperwork, what you were signing is that you did the training. And, you know, if you sign something or somebody else signs, or, you know, there's problems with that paperwork, I mean, it can go down a criminal path to a charge. It could lead to a you know, decertification hearing or starting that process. So, you know, this is very serious, and the paperwork side of this is very serious. And, you know, I want to talk about the, you know, as far as like who could provide technical assistance, or, you know, who would be a model agency for Sheriff Ross and the Polk County Sheriff's Office to reach out to. And that's the Union County Sheriff's Office, and Philip King, the training officer there. And that was a department that we had two separate hearings, and a formal hearing took 2 full days. And they have turned their training program from one that made news for all the wrong reasons into doing everything right. And so I know the sheriff's online with us. I would recommend you reach out to Union County and talk to them about the importance of training and what you can do to professionalize your training and bring it up to standard, because that's a department that, you know, I have no problem sitting here today as executive secretary and saying Union County is a model agency for training.
And I agree with that, and I would be willing to, I'm probably about the same distance away from Polk County as Union County, but I would offer my GDI to come and assist the Polk County GDI in any form or fashion.
And in Toledo, we will say this, we will offer technical assistance, Sheriff. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out.
And I know GDI Ross has reached out to the Training Officers Association online, and he does ask questions and stuff like that. So he's willing to learn and try, so.
This is Sheriff Ross. Can I interject here for just a second?
Yes, go ahead, Sheriff.
I wanted to let y'all know, there was never any deception in this. There wasn't anything like that. We just had a lot going on at the time. New GDI, the firearms instructor not only retired, he had a heart attack at the same time. But we have since then we have hired former Sergeant Mark Darnell with the Cleveland Police Department. He was in training for years with Cleveland, and we have him part-time. He's instructing us and especially instructing our GDI as to the correct way to do things, and things are a whole lot better. I apologize. I accept the commission's decision on this, and we will make it better, and I apologize.
Thank you for that, Sheriff. We appreciate it. We know you have a situation. We just want to make sure you get squared away.
Yes, ma'am. And I hope that you would choose to let us use the former training officer, Sergeant Mark Darnell with Cleveland, instead of going to other agencies, if that's agreeable with you.
I don't know.
And just to clarify, I wasn't suggesting you use a different agency. I was suggesting that it would be good to contact a Union County to find out how they went from where they were to where they are now. And they're a small agency, and they are a model agency for training in our state now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We want to be above board on everything. We sure do, and we're going to make sure that we are.
All right. Is everybody clear on that sort of extended motion? Maybe you need to restate it. Can you hear? Okay.
Well, I think I can get it. I'm making a motion that we have continued corrective action for 6 months. Investigator Creevy, are you good with that? I want to make sure you're good with this.
Yes, sir. And I believe that new firearms instructor is up to speed, and he's got the training. And
the one particular officer will not be eligible for the 2023 salary stipend, but
Walt Mitchell.
For the record, that name. And all other deputy sheriffs and department will receive the stipend and will be in compliance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that good with your second, Mr. Beverly?
Was I the second?
I was just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. But you're good. I know you had.
That was my question. And the last point I wanted to ask is Acadia reflects the accurate. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. That was the only cleanup issue.
Yes, by what we proved by timesheets, it reflects the appropriate date, not what Mr. Ross is stating the new hire date was. It's accurate in the case. It's just the hours now for Marcus Cochran is not equal to what it should be, and also the Walt subject, the hours indicated should not
it reflects it properly for the firearms.
And so could the commission review this again in September, at the September commission meeting? That would be the 6 months.
Yes, that'd be the.
Does that give you time?
corrective action.
That's plenty of time.
Okay. All right, everybody clear on the motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Right, the motion carries. Sheriff, do you understand what we just did?
Yes, ma'am, I do. One question on Officer Payne. He attended the academy. He had graduated in 12/21 of 23. I assume that his firearms will be accepted. I know he's not eligible for pay this year, but that he was accepted for that. Thank you, sir.
So the answer is yes, Sheriff.
Thank you. I saw the thumbs up, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
We've got just a couple of things here on our agenda or that we need to take care of in new business. Dennis Gregory of our legal counsel, our chief counsel, has something he'd like to address with the commission.
Thanks. And it's sort of in an effort to possibly whittle down the number of formal hearings that we have currently on our tracker. Both Ms. Nicely and I took a look at and some discussion with Director Kane. Took a look at possibly right now all of our cases go to the full commission, so all formal hearings, and not the informal, obviously, because those are done just by the committee, but the formal hearings are all done by the full commission requiring a quorum. What some other reg boards do in the reg boards division of commerce and insurance is that the commissions will allow, for example, the contractors board, they hear all their licensed contractor cases. But for unlicensed contractors, they allow those to go just to an administrative law judge. So an ALJ alone to hear those cases. And so what that does is that those cases can go forward, be heard, come to a final disposition without the board ever meeting. So what I am pitching is that we allow cases that are 3 years and older, so that those that went to or appealed to the formal commission or were sent to the formal commission 3 years ago, those would go to an ALJ alone to be dealt with. And of course, anything newer than that would stay with the commission. That would allow, as I mentioned, that would allow the cases to be heard either here, Davy Crockett, or anywhere for that matter, but they would not require a single member. Only the ALJ would sit on the case as the trier. They would make the findings of fact and conclusions of law. There would be, obviously, if an ALJ simply got the law wrong, we would have like any party does, we'd have the ability to appeal that. And as the normal course of action, it goes from here to Chancery Court, and the AG's office would be involved in it in some fashion. Well, not in some fashion, they would be handling it, but that's getting a little far afield. I think right now I just kind of want to see what the commission's view is on letting those type cases go to an ALJ alone.
What does that, does the statute, I mean, I'm sure it does. I mean, you're the legal, man. I'm just saying, I can't imagine having a seated board for all these years that's had to do that, and now we can just have the administrative. I mean, who's the jury on that? I mean,
The judge is.
So it's the jury, the judge is
right.
So what laws changes to allow that from times past?
Nothing's changed, Commissioner. I mean, if all the UAPA allows for either a multi-member commissioner board to hear a case or an ALJ. But again, it's a commission by commission, board by board preference. We have some boards that don't let any of their cases go to ALJs. And then we have, for example, the Barber Cosmetology Board, they let all their cases go.
Or does any of the boards let the defendant pick administrative judge or whole board?
No, unlike in some criminal contexts where the defendant.
In other words, a bench trial or jury trial.
Right. The respondent's never had any control in that. In the administrative law sector.
How many pending formals does the Tennessee Post Commission have today?
Currently, we have 42, and 19 would be the group.
What's the oldest case in what year?
Maybe Director Bello can tell us how you pull that out here.
But you're saying 19 that are 3 years or older?
Right.
So we would, if we accepted this, we'd clear out
19.
just under half of them.
And bear in mind, we could still potentially, some of these people could just say, you know what, it's been 3 years. I'm not in law enforcement anymore.
So much for the fast and speedy trial.
And maybe that's what we're trying to do, but what, you had the oldest.
Yeah, the oldest one, that looks like we're going back to May of 2021.
Wow. So if I'm hearing you correctly on this, if we cleared out these, are any of these folks, those 19 active right now? I know they're up for decertification, but are they active? Are they suspended out of law enforcement?
Out of those 19, at a quick glance, I think there's one. I believe he's employed with Lawrenceburg Police Department.
But outside of that, these folks have been out.
Correct.
With the time period that has since passed, would it allow us some flexibility, or I guess even if, let's say the ALJ ruled that they were not decertified, they would still have to come before us for a waiver because to go to a transition school.
And that's what the idea with the 3 years was, is that, hey, even if the ALJ were to say, I don't see a violation, and they.
I would be good with, the administrative judge hearing any cases that are 3 years or older. And then let's see how that goes and let's come back. And I know it's hard to schedule this board for formals. I know how hard it is for everybody to be here, but for informals and meetings and all of that. But if we need to, we need to somewhat tighten up and to give these people their due process as quickly as possible and have these hearings. I mean, we've got some pretty prominent hearings ahead of us. And we need to get some closure for some folks.
It's a feeling that the judge, that process could move on swifter.
Yes, if we could have those at any time during the year, I know that would not be, I mean, this commission, meets once a month, but even with that, with quorum, sometimes as an example, we had one scheduled for last month, I believe, that we weren't able to go because of insufficient quorum. Now, that was on an informal date, that's another discussion, is what date works best for the board on, for formal hearing.
Well, we had talked earlier last year or sometime or another that, we used to have formals on Friday afternoons.
Right.
That's bad for everybody. And we moved it to Thursday mornings before the informals because folks, like Commissioner Wright and stuff have already come in, but y'all can change that whatever. I mean, that's left up to y'all. That's what we had talked about before.
We've also been working on a voluntary suspension not form, but document as well with legal, that for folks that had, because a lot of these are, pending some sort of action or something else outside of our process. And so one of the things that we've addressed or looking at addressing for that is some sort of voluntary suspension that, hey, if you want to stay in this status, then you're going to have to voluntarily suspend your ability to be an officer, even if you're not serving. Otherwise, we'll, put you to the front of the list and we'll go ahead and have the hearing. So that's one of the things that we've been working on too with legal.
Does this take a form of a motion? Do we need to vote on this?
I'm sorry. I was just gonna make a few more comments, questions, I guess. The quorum issue has not really been an issue until, I don't know, probably within the last year. It seemed like before that, we've never had an issue with quorum, but that's kind of outside of, what is the lag in getting the majority of these before us set for actual formal hearings?
It's primarily been, well, since that's the problem. I can only speak for the past, maybe September, October of 22 coming forward. It's been largely service on the individual, or many of them have been represented, so working with the councils, the other council schedule. And then like quorum is the only other thing that I can say, but again, outside of that year and a half, you know, I can't argue with there not being any problem back then. If they were moving, then they were moving. I didn't see them when they were, you know, moving quickly.
I think at times past, the state of Tennessee set the time and date, and the defendant and their attorney were here. And I think we need to take
Got a little lax on.
I think we need to take a good, strong stance that we're dealing with the people's lives and safety of law enforcement officers out here. We've got enough rogue incidents across the nation, you know, all eyes are on us, but if there's some kind of bog down somewhere, bureaucracy or whatever, you know, that's over our heads. But, you know, if you say we've got to hear this, set the date, you know, do like a circuit judge does or a federal judge. This is our schedule. This is our calendar. You're going to be here. Have your evidence. Have your stuff served. Get it done. Let's get it here, because 42 formals pending in 3 years is not good.
If we pass off the 19 to administrative judge, that still leaves 23, and the rate we're going, those 23 would still be, because I don't know if we're averaging 2 a year, 3 a year.
This makes it, yeah.
It's gonna balloon back up, and we've got to make sure to keep it down.
And there's more coming.
Right, and that's why this opportunity to alleviate 19 seems like, hey, we can send this to an ALJ, alleviate these 19, and all but one of them, if we disagree with the ALJ, they have to come back before us anyway. So it's a way to clear out this queue without, and still giving us the ability to talk about it later if we need to. I think that's the route we need to go, and then cracking on the formals.
It would also be very helpful to our team when a lot of these cases come before us. I think we can reach agreements between the officers and their counsel and our legal counsel, very similar to the way criminal trials work. If you think about plea agreements, and so accepting the board perhaps being more receptive to those agreements would also be very, very helpful to us and discharging. And I understand there's issues. I mean, and that's why we have commissioners here, and I'm not calling anybody out or anything like that, but just, you know, that would help us a great deal. One thing that I'm very grateful to this commission on, and the informal body that meets, is the willingness to look and to go ahead and decertify in the informal committee, which we've always had the power to do that. We've only recently started doing it. But what that then does is put the onus on that officer, if they've been decertified in that 3-person committee, to come back and request a full hearing within 30 days. And so, you know, that puts the onus on them to then come back and want that full hearing. But I think, you know, those two things would be very helpful to continue part with the informal especially.
And on to that comment there, today is the first one of my recollection that we've ever accepted from the Attorney General's office since I've been on under great order. And I don't know what, how to kind of give y'all guidelines on what you think we get in front of, we would accept on our side.
So I think that this one's a good example. This is a 1-year suspension. I think maybe we have, I don't know if we've offered anything like that before, but what was good about, but what was factual about this one that I think helps help get this one to a yes, was that we had someone that had been out of law enforcement for the 3 years. And so that, it's not a backstop, but it does allow the commission to know that, okay, we suspend this person for only a year. We know that they're still going to have to come back for the commission on a waiver to attend transition school. And if you all don't think that they've, you know, fixed themselves in that amount of time, then they don't go. So that's what was.
And I think, and I think thinking those things out on y'all's as you're offering those would be what would probably help get through us, is because y'all do understand what kind of more guidelines now that you've been here longer,
right,
of what we're looking at.
Another thing, in the last couple of formals or whatever, or informals that come up, is people have died or gone I mean, and witnesses have been lost or people have moved far away and things are still left in limbo. We've seen that happen since even in my tenure up here. So, yeah, but I whatever you can to help clear your backlog out, I agree in the settlements, if there's a fair settlement. And then if there's a settlement that parties of the state think that, well, I don't know if that, we'll bring it to us in the next meeting and we'll decide, we'll make a motion on how to make the settlement and move on without having to do the formal hearing. I think that'd be great.
Chair Spangler, I was about to make a motion, but I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, the motion was going to say whether we need or not, or making the motion,
Yeah.
we go ahead and send those on to you all, and let's move on.
It's part of the record.
Just a motion to allow those cases 3 years and older to be administered by ALJ alone.
There you go.
That's the motion.
So we have a second. Did you second it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go.
One last thing on new business before we get to public comment. We do have one person for public comment. I want to just very briefly commend our team at Post. Salary supplement is annually a bear. And so when we look at March is typically in the past, we've been taking forms and looking at a name and looking at the computer and going back and forth to, go over each and every roster. And I can report to this commission today, with the exception of departments that only have part-time people, who are going to have to send us a letter from their city stating that they don't have anybody eligible for salary supplement. Every department in the state has submitted their salary supplement to us. And I want to commend Kat Cooper and the work that her team has done, and Lakita, the work that your team has done, and Ralph as assistant director. This move to digital salary supplement has been, it's been absolutely life-changing for the team at Post. So I can report to you on this, the 15th day of March, that we have received everybody's salary supplement that's going to be getting one. So that's pretty awesome. So good job, team.
Well done.
All right, it's time now for public comments, and for the chair, we have one, a Melanie Liggins. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. And just I guess a reminder to the commissioners that this is public comments. It does not have to be a back and forth on this. It's just their turn to come up here and say their piece.
I respect 3 minutes.
Please identify yourself.
Okay, Melanie Liggins, former Memphis Police Department.
Okay. And our secretary is going to be keeping the time. 3
Okay.
minutes. Thank you.
Thank you to Investigator Creed. Yeah, it's great to be here. This is an amazing opportunity for face-to-face discussion after a couple of years since my termination with the city of Memphis. It also offers a convenient way for me to adhere to the board, to hear my plea, to allow me the opportunity to appeal the decision on the revocation of my certification. I started out in the city of Memphis in 2019 and ended my employment in 2021. Therefore, I received an email about my decertification, not being a frequent checker of the email, so I wasn't aware that I had to appear here in Nashville. I actually drove from South Haven, Mississippi this morning, so I'm just trying to see what options do I have in order to, get it out of that default status, or if there is a possibility to get it out.
Okay, I don't think we're supposed to respond, are we? Or it's just your opportunity to comment.
And that's all that I have.
I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is nothing else on the agenda.
All right. Anything else from the commissioners?
Commissioner Wright, welcome to the.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff.
Good work, everybody.